2024 elections may still be years, literally, away, but former President Donald Trump is already taking aim at some fellow Republicans.
He's backing primary challengers against these 12 GOP incumbents as Trump himself prepares for another possible run at the White House.
NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hilliard joins us now with more. Hey, Vaughn, great to have you on set with us. Okay, those are just little tiny tiles. Take us through this list. Who's on it and why are they on it?
Right, we're calling this a Big 12 because in the months ahead, these Republican incumbents are going to be facing primary challengers from fellow Republicans. These individuals raised Donald Trump's ire over the last year especially. They either voted to certify the 2020 election or they voted to impeach him here. And so that is why the former president now wants them out. And he's using his political capital to go around the country. This weekend in Michigan, two congressmen are from Michigan. A week ago, two of the other individuals on the Big 12 list were from Georgia. 4 weeks ago, he was in South Carolina, where two other Big 12 are on the list. So it's very clear why he is going to these places and who he's targeting.
Okay, that was NBC Today. By the way, the NBC streaming service, I guess that's a streaming service for NBC, got to up their game. You're in the Battleground Tuesday, 5 April, Year of our Lord 2022. I want to bring in Boris Epshteyn. Boris, here's what's interesting. That played this morning, I think, on NBC, and it's already the Big 11. I think Fred Upton was included in that list, and Fred has decided. Fred has decided upon further review after Trump goes for one rally. Upton's talking nothing but smack out there. Oh, this is hurtful for the party. This is that, and I think he hung up the cleats this morning. So the Big 12 goes to the Big 11. This is one of the purposes of this show, to make sure that we follow not just those races, but of course, all the important races out there. But I want to take a minute, Boris, and talk about what is now the Big 11. These are the people that really double-cross the president, double-cross the MAGA movement, stab people in the back. In fact, we got Joe Kent on here in a little while. Joe's actually running against one of these traitors. So talk to me about that and why the NBC has picked up. This is quite important that the MAGA movement make sure that these people are voted out of office.
No doubt about it, Steve. It is absolutely vital because this is how MAGA shows that you cannot double cross us. You cannot stab MAGA in the back and then continue to be an elected official, a member of Congress. Or let's be honest, look at what happened in the Supreme Court with the vote yesterday, where you had Romney, Murkowski, and Collins absolutely betray MAGA, betray the Republican Party. That should not be allowed to continue. We cannot have, it's one thing to disagree, okay? But it's a whole different thing to look at a judge who sure is qualified, but has shown such terrible judgment on a vital issue such as the torture and rape of children, and then be okay with these Republican senators, again, Romney, Murkowski, Collins, voting for confirmation. Go back to the quote-unquote Big 11, and I think that number is going to continue to shrink. They've got a major problem. They've got a problem because President Trump continues to be the undisputed leader, the undisputed head of the Republican Party and the MAGA movement. And you're seeing that in all the polling. I mean, there's a little talk about 2024. Next thing you know, boom, polling comes out. President Trump at 60. The next two, DeSantis and Pence, are tied at 10. Okay? There is no, and that's Harvard-Harris polling. So let's be clear here. There is no race in a primary in the Republican Party in 2024. If President Trump, as we all hope he does, runs, he's going to be the Republican nominee, and he's going to trounce whichever feckless, pathetic, lackluster, pretend leader, be it Biden, who embarrassed himself today, who got embarrassed actually by Barack Obama today in the White House, be it Kamala Harris or whoever else. President Trump will annihilate that candidate and walk into the Oval Office on Jan 20, 2025, if not earlier. Sorry, Madeline Peltz, I said it, okay? So in terms of the 2024 predictions, and you saw that already on NBC going a little bit, it is clear. President Trump is the undisputed frontrunner, and frontrunner even doesn't cover it. There is no race. To have a frontrunner, you have to have a race. There's no race. And in terms of the elections, President Trump has been very decisive and has come in and said that if you voted the wrong way on impeachment, if you've stabbed MAGA in the back or the front, you are not going to continue in Republican politics. And that is a lesson for all the rhinos all across the country. Those of you attacking MAGA candidates, those of you who are backstabbing MAGA again on redistricting, for those of you who are not fighting against wrongful nominations such as Judge Jackson for the Supreme Court and for other courts, MAGA is not going to forgive. The MAGA is in control of the Republican Party. President Trump is the undisputed leader, and you've got to act accordingly. You've got to represent the base, which is all blood red MAGA.
Okay, a lot of these races are problematic too. We'll get into it, but I want to talk about stabbed in the back. I want to go to bring in Tim Parlatore, who's one of the top attorneys in the country representing Eric Greitens. This is in the situation with Karl Rove and these donors that are trying to insert Eric Greitens' children into this. Tim, can you get us up to date on what's happening? I could tell you, when you were on the other day, I don't think I've ever seen our audience as worked up about the tactics and techniques that were used by Karl Rove and other these operatives to try to go after Eric Greitens' children.
Yeah, so what has happened since? We were hoping that Sheena Greitens would take a look at what was going on and say, okay, you know what? I'm sorry, I got used by these political operatives. Let's pull that out. Let me go back to mediation, work this thing out. Instead, it seems like she's doubling down. She just submitted an affidavit the other day where, while she initially claimed, I never spoke to anybody before filing this except my attorney, now we know that's a lie because multiple people have confirmed that she spoke to Karl Rove. So now she's pulled that back to, Karl Rove didn't write the affidavit. Whether he may have been sitting in the room with her, maybe he was dictating it on the phone, we don't know. I think we're going to find that out because we're going to get her under oath. We're going to cross-examine her. We're going to get Karl Rove under oath. We're going to cross-examine him. We're going to find these things out. But the affidavit she submitted is so full of further lies. She's claiming that there's photographs of him abusing the kids, and yet she should know there are hundreds of photos from that contemporaneous period of time that show that no such thing happened. Photos that show he hurt his tooth roughhousing with his brother, as all kids do, and as she told the doctor. So her own emails, her own statements to the doctor, the medical records, the photos, all show that that's a lie. She's also claiming that these are not new claims, as she told her attorneys at the time, she told the mediator, she told therapists at the time. We know that that's a lie just from the contents of its own statement. If you tell your therapist or the mediator that there is child abuse going on, under Missouri law, they are mandated reporters. If she had done that, they would have reported it to law enforcement. They would have reported it to child services. Eric Greitens would have been investigated at the time. She didn't, and now she's lying about it. If she had told her attorneys, they would have made it part of the divorce. They didn't. They wouldn't have let her sign an affidavit saying there are no further undisclosed material facts. They did. All of these are lies, and the interesting thing is the corroborating witnesses that she's picking, it's not family members, it's not friends, it's all people that have confidentiality provisions that prevent us from calling them up and saying, hey, is Sheena telling the truth about this? They can't come out and say, yeah, she's lying about this because they're covered under confidentiality. But the fact that they didn't call law enforcement at the time shows that she was lying about this. So the case going on in Missouri is going to continue. I expect that we are going to have, some type of a hearing. We've subpoenaed the phone records, so I expect that we'll have those back. And we are going to dive into what led to her filing this false affidavit. She does still have an opportunity to try and pull this back, to try and get this thing under control. Because if she keeps pushing forward, the sanctions she's going to be facing the court could only be worse. They're only going to get worse. And at the end of the day, the only people that get hurt by that are the kids.
I just want to make sure I understand something. At first, there was no, Rove had nothing to do with this. He called everybody, and everybody should know big, tough Karl Rove is running around in complete meltdown. He is calling people, begging them to make this go away. He didn't do anything. But you're saying in this new affidavit, she said Rove didn't write it, but is she implying that Rove had contact with her, which was something Rove denied to everybody he called? Because he was burning up the phones calling donors and other people in the media saying he never did this. Is now her new affidavit imply that Rove was somehow involved in this?
It does imply that because of what she doesn't say. And here's the thing. He is denied to some people, and yet he's admitted to others. He admitted to John Solomon that he had contact with her. She puts out a statement right after the affidavit gets filed saying, I never had contact with anybody. Now we know that's a lie. This is the problem. When you file a perjured affidavit, when you lie, sooner or later, it's tough to keep the lies straight, especially when you have tough advocates on the other side. They're going to press and make sure that we test the lies, as we're going to do here. So, yes, it is implying absolutely that she talked to him. It's just now, well, he didn't write it. Very carefully worded.
Yes, no, but even have that in there, he didn't write it. That means what he had other contact that's right. Damning to Rove, and I'm going to get back to him in a second. When you say confidentiality agreements or confidentiality provisions, explain to the audience what that means, because I think that's confusing to people.
Sure. She claims that she told her attorneys that there was abuse. Obviously, I can't ask them because they're her attorneys. They have attorney-client privilege. She claims that she told the therapists about it. Therapists also have, doctor-patient privilege, so I can't call them up and say, hey, did she tell you this? And of course, they may even also plead the fifth, because if you ask them, hey, did she tell you about this abuse, and did you fail to report it to Child Services at the time, are they going to admit to that? Of course not. The mediator is also covered by confidentiality. When two parties are going to a mediator, there is a confidentiality provision there that prevents the mediator from ever getting called as a witness. Now, Eric was there, so he knows that this is not something that was part of the mediation. She knows it wasn't part of the mediation too, but she's now putting out this lie knowing that we are prevented legally from calling the mediator and making her a witness in the case. Aside from the fact that she is still the mediator that's assigned to this case to try and work out the resolution. She's trying to put her in the middle of it as a witness that we can't call.
The tragedy of this is the Rove operators and what McConnell will do, and Steve Wynn's in back of this too. Steve Wynn's hands are all over this. He was at Rove was at Wynn's house when he was calling donors to spread these lies weeks ago. The issue it gets away from what was a tough primary, talking about issues and MAGA issues, to now what they're trying to do is just get Greitens caught up in the spin. Walk me through the process legally of what you guys do to kind of punch through this. What's the next steps?
Sure. The legal process is going to take a while. We've subpoenaed the phone records. We expect that there's going to be probably motion hearings on quashing those subpoenas as to whether we're going to get them. There is motions pending right now to try and move this case to Texas, which is really, what this all started out with. But then there are counter motions based on the fact that she isn't following the parenting plan. She's not letting him see his kids as required by the courts. And so all of those are going to end up with her having to go into court and testify and then be cross-examined under oath on all of these lies. It's going to take a while, though, and the family court is not something that's open to the public quite the same as a regular civil or criminal case. And so it's unfortunate because this really is a sideshow. And, quite frankly, the judge may take a look at this and say, you know what, all this has nothing to do with whether Texas or Missouri should have jurisdiction. I'm just going to deny the motion, and I'm going to order you guys to go back to mediation, which is what the agreement requires you to do anyway. So the judge could potentially short-circuit this. But the family courtroom is not where we should be litigating election issues. He should be out there on the campaign trail talking about real issues, policies.
But they can't be. Greitens is up 20 points. I'm going to get back to Boris in a second. Greitens is so far up. The only way that McConnell and Rove can stop him is this. And this shows you the insidious nature of the Bush apparatus. Is Karl Rove potentially guilty of a crime here? Is this if this thing proves and you get the phone records, all this, that he put her up to it, he talked to her, and that they exchanged correspondence or talked to her, as he said, as he's told people, is he guilty of a crime?
It really depends. It very fact specific. If she lied to him and she told him, oh, Eric did all this stuff, and he said, oh, well, you should definitely, put that in an affidavit and then let me use that to sink his campaign. And he believes what she's saying is true, which anybody with half a brain should listen to this and realize, especially a lawyer should realize this isn't true. In that case, he wouldn't be guilty of a crime. But if he is encouraging her to embellish the story for his own political purposes, and I don't know if he has, we're going to find that out. But anybody who encourages a witness to falsely embellish a story for a courtroom so that they can gain advantage in a political campaign, yeah, that person is guilty of a crime and they should go to jail.
Tim, is there any way people can follow you on social media? There's a lesson here because they've turned the lawfare. They're coming after everybody. As you can see, poor President Trump every day is fighting off another one. This is why you need great lawyers like Tim. Tim, is there any way people can follow this on social media?
Well, I would follow the Greitens campaign social media. I have social media accounts. Admittedly, as my marketing department's always yelling at me, I'm not updating it as often as I should be. But this issue, the best way to look at it is through the Greitens campaign social media.
Okay, Tim Parlatore, thank you very much. Eric Greitens' lawyer in this entire fiasco. Sorry, Eric has to go through this and the kids.
Thank you.
Boris, rule number 1, retain a tough lawyer, right? There's a lesson here. Retain a tough lawyer.
Parlatore is no joke. He's a serious lawyer. He knows what he's doing. He comes in strong, comes with facts. And Steve, it's what you just said. It is disgusting that the swamp is so obsessed at bringing down MAGA fighters. All the way, obviously, they've been obsessed with bringing down President Trump for years. But now it's extended to MAGA fighters like Eric Greitens and others. And there's no lengths, there's no depths they won't sink to. Because this whole thing, and as I was sitting here thinking about it and listening to Tim Parlatore and you discuss it, it's obvious that it's false. Okay, it's obvious that even without being a lawyer, I could tell you. I mean, this just doesn't seem right. Because why did it take 4 years, a divorce proceeding, a parenting plan decision for any of this to come out? So that doesn't make any sense. But the saddest part about it is that it's all about there's these two young boys, and that's what brought in the middle of this. And and frankly, I think long term it's sad for Sheena Greitens too. I think. I really do hope that she sees that she's being used in dirty politics by the dirtiest political players out there. That's and decides to reconsider it and let her kids move on. I love the affidavit. Rove nowhere near this, anything like that. He didn't write it. He didn't write it for me. Oh, no, he wasn't. He had nothing to do with it. Well, he actually didn't write it for me. And also, here's the other part. What is Karl Rove doing trying to play Oppo comms guy? Okay? Karl Rove is like a grandpa. All right? It's Karl. Sorry, brother. Time's passed you by. You messed this up. By the way, Karl Rove screwed this up so bad on so many different levels. Okay? And they'll tell you again how desperate and rabid the swamp is to get at MAGA fighters. Not only did he put forward push forward false allegations, everything that appears to be false allegations, he also, let's be honest, was dumb enough to call people up and say, hey, I've got all this stuff and it's coming out. And then that boomeranged right in his face. This was one of the sloppiest comms jobs I have ever seen.
No. It's not sloppy. It shows you their arrogance. Their arrogance is they think they don't understand how many donors are actually full MAGA and actually not just support President Trump. They support the Eric Greitens and the Joe Kents of the world. There's a new day dawning. You see, the problem the Bush apparatus has is they think all the money is just naturally to them. So much of the money I know will have nothing to do with the Bush apparatus. They say these guys have screwed up. They've put the country in this jeopardy before Biden stole the election. This is what Trump was trying to clean up. The $9 trillion on the endless wars in the Middle East. the open, it was Karl Rove that, remember, Karl Rove was the one that talked Bush into doing the amnesty plan, that was what was going to make the Hispanic community vote for Republicans. We know the exact opposite is true. They want border security, real border security, not their arrogance is they can just make phone calls and things happen. They don't realize they have no power. The Bush apparatus is gone. They're still fighting that rear guard action. Don't get me wrong. This is why the 11 and Pence and all these guys and Cheney, they're all trying to coalesce in an opposition to President Trump. Let's bring in Joe Kent for a second and get his opinion, because your opponent, Joe, was one of the ones on the Big 12. The Big 12 went to the Big 11 in about 2 hours as Fred Upton threw in the towel. Joe Kent, how tough is it to run against these well-funded, they're worse than rhinos. They're really traitors. How tough is it to run against these folks?
Well, hey, Steve, thanks for having me on. It's definitely a tough fight when you look at just sheer fundraising, when you look at the resources that are being leveraged against candidates like myself, like Eric Greitens, at the national level. But when you get out and you talk to actual voters, you talk to the true MAGA base, you can feel the strength in our numbers. And people are seeing through this corporatist scheme, the special interest groups that want high inflation, unlimited immigration, more endless wars, exactly what the Republicans, like my opponent, Jamie Herrera Butler, who voted for the impeachment of President Trump, just voted for with this last $1.5 trillion omnibus spending package that not only had infringements on our Second Amendment rights, it had more funding for COVID that's hurt so many different people here. It's really just neglecting the fact that our entire economy and our working class is being strangled by this inflation that's all self-inflicted because of the Biden administration. And really, Republicans don't seem to care about that. You have Kevin McCarthy continuing to fund half of the impeachment voters. You just pointed out Karl Rove and the Bushies going after Eric Greitens. So the pressure from the top is a lot, but we can push back because we're empowered by the grassroots, by the MAGA movement every day.
Is her philosophy? Is she trying to get Democratic votes? Is that what she does to beat you? Her plan is to get somehow to get Democratic votes or independent votes to beat you.
So Jamie Herrera Butler has survived this long because of our jungle primary system, and she's never had an actual primary challenge. She came in on the Tea Party wave unopposed, with no primary challenge. She had a good deal of establishment backing. And so she relies purely on being the only Republican that moves on to the general election. But right now, I'm leading her in all of the independent polling. So she is counting on Democrats to vote for her, but also these spoiler Republican candidates who claim to be America first, who claim to be MAGA, who even made promises that they would drop out and coalesce around whomever President Trump endorsed. I made that exact same promise. I was highly honored to have President Trump's endorsement, but I wouldn't be here talking to you right now had I not gotten the endorsement, because I would be doing the establishment a favor. And so I have an opponent who's doing that. She immediately went back on her word and is instead spending all of her resources attacking me. We're prevailing despite all of that. But Jamie Herrera Butler's entire strategy right now is exploiting the divisions within the America First movement and our jungle primary, and then also bringing Democrats over to her side. And that's why she signs off on all these omnibus spending packages. That's why she voted against the construction of the border wall. I think people to take a look at her record. It's actually rather horrible. It's actually worse than Liz Cheney's.
How do people find out more about Joe Kent, and particularly this primary and your campaign?
Yep, absolutely. We are on the front lines of the war for the Republican Party. So go to joekentforcongress.com. And a donation that people can make will really help. I'm running up against not just the GOP, but the far left also has Democrats in the race. So joekentforcongress.com. Any support people can give is really appreciated.
Joe, keep fighting. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank
Boris,
you,
so Joe Kent is one of the 11 that President Trump has endorsed and going against this. We're starting in the next couple of days and through Holy Week, we're going to be really walking through the primary schedule and what's out there. Give us your assessment. I know you got to bounce here at the bottom of the hour. You got a couple of minutes. This Big 11, it was Big 12 this morning. Upton punched out. How important are these for President Trump to win?
They're vital to win as many of these as possible and to send a message that MAGA continues to be in full control. I mean, will some of them survive just by being in, weak purple districts? Probably. But can we absolutely continue to fight, especially if Liz Cheney, Meyer, Mace, We've got to continue to stand strong, and MAGA has got to deliver for President Trump just like he's delivered for us. And what does that mean? That means being out on the front lines, the War Room Posse, the MAGA movement under the leadership of President Trump, being energized by those Saturday rallies that he's now doing pretty much weekly, getting out there and voting for the MAGA candidates like Joe Kent, like Eric Greitens all across the country. On the Big 11, and I think the number is going to continue to shrink. Do not stay home. I know it's a midterm, but MAGA's got to continue to come in hot. And look, there's so much motivation, right? Biden approval, disapproval, upside down by 20 points. Right track, wrong track, upside down by 30 or more points. The Democrats are doing all they can to ruin their country. And as we said yesterday, at some point you think maybe it's not fecklessness, maybe it's actually a coordinated attack on the very soul of the United States of America. We've got to continue to stand strong.
Boris, real quickly, how do people get your newsletter? How do they get social media? How do they track you down?
No doubt about it. The website is so hot. Thanks, everybody, for signing up. BorisCP.com is the website. Sign up right now. Hot on Getter at BorisCP, on Twitter at BorisCP, Truth Social at Boris, and, of course, the hottest on the gram, Boris_Epshteyn. Stay strong. God bless. I'll see you tomorrow.
Boris, thank you very much. We're going to come back, and we're going to play here on War and Battleground what might be the most controversial ad of this cycle. All next. Josh Mandel from Ohio will join us with an ad that you will remember. All next in the War Room.
War Room Battleground with Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, welcome back. We're going to go to Mar-a-Lago through the good offices of Star News, Neil McCabe and the team. We got Corey Lewandowski. Corey was the initial campaign manager on the Trump campaign in 2016 and one of the keys. This is the gentleman that won the primaries with President Trump and was key to the 2016 election victory. Corey, I understand tonight before the film rig, you've got Hope Hicks, Kellyanne Conway, Dave Bossie, Reince Priebus, and yourself, among others. First off, I want to make sure that Shifty Shift and little Jamie Raskin are not going to deliver any subpoenas to you guys. Are you guys concerned about that, having that kind of group of power hitters down there?
Hey, Steve, I had my fight in front of the Judiciary Committee, in case you remember, with Jerry Nadler, and I think I came out okay that day. So if he wants to bring a subpoena, bring it, baby, bring it.
Yeah, I don't think they'll ever want to. No, they don't want any more Corey. Corey, how important? You know the president probably as well as anybody. How important is this film and Dave Bossie, the investigative unit he put on? How important is this for President Trump to finally start to get the word out there with the receipts, not just rhetoric, but hard receipts that we can now start showing how this thing was stolen?
See, this film is so important. I've had the privilege to already see it. What Dave Bossie has put together here is a case in point of what Mark Zuckerberg did for the opportunity to steal an American election legally. And what I think this guy did, and what the film articulates, is he used a nonprofit to do it. So this guy took $400 million, dumped it into a 501c3, took a tax write-off for doing it, and then put his thumb on the scale to weigh the outcome of the election. We know that Dave Bossie has found where the money goes because the 990s of the nonprofit are publicly available. Mark Zuckerberg never has run into a guy like Dave Bossie. And look, between Kellyanne Conway and Dave Bossie and me and Hope and Reince, Steve, if we had you here, not only could we fix the problems here in the United States, we can go fix the problems in Ukraine, too. Putin wouldn't screw with us, let me tell you
that. Corey, you were there at the beginning, right after the 3 November, the steal, to try to get this thing sorted, particularly in places like Pennsylvania. What recommendation will you make for our MAGA audience? Since this film is out, right, in addition to seeing it, you're a guy that's action, action, action. What should our audience do? What's the call to action to actually get this thing so we start decertifying Biden electors?
Well, it's very simple, Steve. We have to make sure we got one person, one vote. We know unequivocally that there was election fraud, okay? The media has told us that it wasn't widespread. I don't know what widespread election fraud means anymore. Does it mean one person? Two? What's the definition of widespread fraud? This is the same media that told us the Hunter Biden laptop story wasn't real, and that the Russian disinformation campaign as it related to Russiagate was real. So how can we believe anything they say? We need people to go out there and monitor what's going on, to make sure that we have voter ID in place, that we have a system that only legal people are allowed to vote into, and that they only get counted if they're legal ballots. Steve, look, let's do verification of signatures when they're absentees like they're supposed to be done. If we're not going to do that, then we're no better than a two-bid bureaucracy somewhere that has a Mickey Mouse operation that right now is being run by a clown called Joe Biden.
Last question. You got Kellyanne, Hope, Bossy, Reince, yourself, and others. Is this a cash bar? Is Bossy, is this going on in the production, or is this a cash bar?
Steve, you and I both know how cheap that guy is. But it wasn't his decision. His wife said, "Hey, Bossy, you cheap bastard, open the bar up to everybody." And I know you don't drink, but I'll do my best to ring up the tab for you, Steve. How's that?
Corey, how do people follow you on social media? Because you're on fire 24 hours a day, and I know you're now back into the game punching away. How do people follow you?
Look, the best thing to do is you go to fightbacknowamerica.com. It's my super PAC that we're endorsing candidates through fightbacknowamerica.com. You can follow us there. You can go to Twitter. If anybody's still on Twitter, right? I don't know, but C. Lewandowski is my handle, C. Lewandowski at Twitter. And maybe Elon will come in and take some action over at that dump of a place, and we can fix some of the problems over there.
Fight Back Now America. And of course, we got the rigged site all over our site today, pushing it out. Corey Lewandowski, say hi to everybody. Thanks for coming on, and looking forward to the president stepping up and saying a few remarks tonight before this home rigged.
Thanks, Steve.
It's going to be a wild one in Mar-a-Lago tonight. That is quite a collection of characters. Okay, Fight Back America. Fight Back Now America is Corey's super PAC or Corey's PAC. Go check it out. Also rigged. We've got it all on our platforms. Make sure you go there. It's a premiere tonight down in Mar-a-Lago. President's he's seen the film, but he's going to make some remarks. And this is a film that starts to bring the receipts in places like Wisconsin and Michigan and Georgia specifically about what Zuckerberg did to rig this election. Okay, if Memphis can play, we got an amazing spot. I want everybody to watch. I may play this thing twice. It's so good. Let's play it.
Critical race theory is crap.
Martin Luther King marched right here, so skin color wouldn't matter. I didn't do 2 tours in Anbar province, fighting alongside Marines of every color, to come home and be called a racist. There's nothing racist about stopping critical race theory and loving America.
Josh Mandel, pro-God, pro-gun, pro-Trump.
I'm Josh Mandel, and I approve this message. You want a fighter? Send in the Marine.
Josh Mandel now joins us. Josh, I imagine that blue check Twitter is a little probably triggered too light a word. I imagine they're in full meltdown when they saw this. For our radio and our massive podcast audience and our radio audience, because we have a huge live streaming and TV and cable audience, but we have huge podcasts and video that can't actually see it. What is so controversial? What is the left saying is so controversial about this spot that I think right now it's the most controversial spot of this cycle?
Listen, we went to Selma, Alabama, to the Edmund Pettus Bridge, and we filmed the spot there, not to disgrace Martin Luther King, but to honor him. And I think the people who disgrace his legacy, who pervert his message, are the radical leftists. Martin Luther King preached that we should judge people based on the content of one's character, not the color of one's skin. And you've got these liberals all over America, these woke corporations who are trying to make everything about skin color. And Steve, I know you and I have talked about it a lot, and I know your viewers and listeners feel the same way. We're sick of being called racists. We are not racist. We love America. And there's nothing racist about loving America. There's nothing racist about stopping critical race theory. And, I think it's time to go on offense. The racist ones, the intolerant ones, it's these Ivy League liberals. It's these blue checks on Twitter. It's the folks who stand up there gratuitously at the Academy Awards and the Grammys, and they lecture people, here in the heartland in places like Dayton and Toledo and Youngstown.
Okay, one of the criticisms or observations from some of your opponents are saying, hey, this is a federal election for the United States Senate. You're going to be dealing with the biggest and most intractable problems in the country, including national security. And you check all those boxes. But, Josh is not running for the school board chairman. And he's gotten involved in CRT because it's a wedge issue. What's your response to that, sir?
It's baloney. I mean, I think we need United States senators to stand up and combat critical race theory. This is a cultural issue for our country. United States senators have an obligation to stand up for the culture of America. We are a country that was founded and grew strong in Judeo-Christian values. And part of that Judeo-Christian ethic is loving thy neighbor, regardless of what skin color our neighbor has. Part of that Judeo-Christian ethic is having each other's back. You know, Steve, when I stepped on Parris Island, you get there and you stand on these yellow footprints. And the drill instructors say to you at Marine boot camp, we don't care where you came from. We don't care what color skin you have. We don't care what religion you are. We don't care how much money or little money your mommy and daddy have. You're all equally worthless to us. And that's what they say to you, when you get to boot camp. That was May of 2000 for me. 4 years later, I found myself in a town called Al-Qaim, which is right where the Euphrates River meets the Iraq-Syria border. And as our unit was charged with stopping the flow of foreign weapons and foreign fighters across that border, I guarantee you we didn't give a hoot whether the Marine to our left or our right was a black kid from inner city Bronx, a Hispanic kid from rural Texas, a white kid from backwoods Tennessee. We didn't care. They were our Marines. They were my brothers. I was putting my life in his hand. He was putting his life in my hand, and that was it. And that's how it should be in the civilian world right now, whether it's in the United States Senate, the United States House, school boards, the classroom where our kids are learning, the church where our families are worshiping, or anywhere else. And I'm just sick and tired of all this class warfare and race warfare from the left. And I decided it's time to go on offense, and it's time to go where this fight was originally had, which was on the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama, where Martin Luther King marched, and I went there and did the same thing.
There's a highly qualified judge who's up for confirmation of the Supreme Court. She's Harvard Law School, Harvard College, top academics. She's worked at the best law firms. She's clerked for the best people. Sitting judge, a lifetime appointment in the D.C. Appellate Court, which is the step right down from the Supreme Court. This issue has come up about child pornography and child trafficking and the viewing of this, and Judge Jackson going easy. Murkowski, Collins, and Romney have all voted to support her nomination. If you were in the United States Senate, Josh Mandel, how would you vote?
I'd strongly oppose it. And listen, I posted last night about Romney. I think this guy's a rhino. I think this guy's a traitor to our party and to our country. He's just trying to be liked by the media and invited to the cocktail parties. But at the end of the day, Steve, I know, your viewers, your listeners know, they view us as Republicans as the enemy. And you know what Romney's trying to do is feed the alligators, but eventually he'll be eaten as well.
Josh, how do people, this ad is very controversial and it's going to get a lot of play over the next couple of days. How can people follow you on social media? Because I know you're engaged in really what I would say communications, information combat right now. How can people follow you on social media and how they find out more about you personally and your campaign?
Sure. The website is joshmandel.com. JoshMandel.com. We are on Twitter, Josh Mandel, Ohio. We're on Facebook. We're on Gab. We're on Parler. We're on Telegram. We're on all these different platforms. Whoever hasn't kicked us off today. I'm censored by Twitter and Facebook all the time, but we fight back and punch back. And yeah, in social media today, we're fighting with all these Ivy League liberals, these white woke professors who are saying, how dare you, Josh, go march on the Edmund Pettus Bridge? And my feeling is, how dare you at Princeton, Harvard, or Yale self-deputize yourself as some expert on race? And I just think, it's time for us to go on offense. Our values, our Judeo-Christian values, have been around for thousands of years. Their values, critical race theory and transgenderism, they're making it up on the fly. They are the intolerant ones. They are the ones that are intolerant to our beliefs that have withstood the test of time. And I think it's time for us as conservatives, us as America First warriors, to go on offense.
Josh Mandel, thank you. Honored to have you on here. Thank you for letting us play the spot.
Thanks, Steve.
We're going to put the spot up, his 30-second spot up on all of our platforms. Captain Bannon, if you can start pushing that out right now. Okay, I want to go to Chief Petty Officer Jarome Bell. Chief Petty Officer Bell's got a few things. He's running for Congress down in Virginia, too. Chief Petty Officer Bell, Chief Bell, I know you're getting ready to address a school board, and if that comes up, you can go ahead and punch out from the show. We'll catch you another time. But you're very upset, too, about critical race theory, about all the gender identification taught in these schools. What's your complaint, and why should that be involved in a race for Congress?
Well, I think it needs to be involved in a race in Congress. And first of all, thanks for having me, Steve, because they're indoctrinating our young kids. Okay, I had 3 boys that went through the Virginia Beach school system. They're out of school now, so I don't really have a dog in this fight, except we have to protect our kids. And right now, I'm going to be speaking in front of a school board against a company called Achieve 3000 that are just doing that. They're trying to bring on these online English textbooks for the 6th through 12th grade called Actively Learn. And this company is not only indoctrinating and grooming our children as young as 12 into transgenderism and CRT, they're actively extracting confidential family information and private information as well. I believe they're breaking the law in the 4th Amendment because they're asking questions like, are there guns in the house and how many, and are they locked up? So these companies are trying to break up the families, and this needs to be on the forefront of an issue of a congressional race, because our very, very way of life, the life of our kids and grandkids, are at stake because these pedophiles, communists are coming after our kids, and we have to put a stop to that, Steve.
Chief Bell, do you think it's too harsh a term to say it's grooming? I mean, do you want to back that up? Why do you use the term grooming? A lot of people in the LGBT community are saying, "Hey, that's this old law that's trying to say everybody that's gay is also grooming as a pedophile." Why do you think that term's too harsh, and why do you use it?
No, I don't really believe it's too harsh, Steve, because if you look at it, you can use it as indoctrination or grooming. I believe they're used synonymous. And when you use terms like that, people really wake up and people take notice on what's going on. So no, I won't back that up. I'll still continue to use grooming because I believe that's what it is. They're indoctrinating and grooming our kids into Marxism, into communism, and to the transgenderism as well.
Chief, how do people find out more about you, more about your race, and how do they follow you on social media?
You can just go to votechiefbell.com. We made it actually easier so people wouldn't misspell my name and get the guy in Cleveland, Ohio, the Democrat. So you can just go to votechiefbell.com and you can follow my race. And also you can follow my link tree. I have a link tree now. I'm on every social media platform except Twitter, which banned me about 6 months ago. So you can use my link tree, and that's linktree.com/Jarome Bell VA, and you can follow all of my social links. And on Facebook, when they are not shadow banning me, people can follow me there. And also, Steve, and I'm going to ask for every one of your listeners, every one of your viewers who believe in me and believe that I am the MAGA candidate, I'm the America First candidate, and to actually go to and donate, because I'm up against a Kevin McCarthy rhino. He's backed, he's come in, at least Stefanik and these PACs have come in and backed my rhino opponent, and we cannot allow her anywhere near the Congress, because she actually voted for all of these transgender bills, like the Values Act here in Virginia, the Virginia Values Act, which put little boys in the girls' bathrooms. So we need a MAGA candidate. We need someone that's going to be strong on these issues, and that's me. And I'm going to need everyone to come and donate $5, $10, anything you can to help me defeat this Kevin McCarthy candidate.
Chief Bell, good luck tonight at the school board, and good luck in your campaign, sir.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate you for having me. Thank you very much.
Chief Petty Officer Jarome Bell. Okay, we're going to go out to Nevada and Jim Marchant. Jim, you're running for Secretary of State, but you're also organizing all these secretaries of state that are running for MAGA values and to make sure that we sort out all this mess from 2020. Real quickly, the vote in the Senate on confirming Judge Jackson in this issue of child pornography and pedophilia and all that. How controversial a vote is this going to be if the Democratic senator out there votes to confirm? Do you think, Jim?
Very controversial. It's going to be a disaster, and everybody out here knows it too. So, and elections have consequences, and that's exactly why we're working so hard to make sure that we have a fair and transparent election all over the country. And this would not happen if we had fair and transparent elections.
Jim, I want to put up the Washington Post article. We can just link to it. Washington Post in full meltdown today, Jim Marchant, because of you coming on this show last week and talking about the counties in Nevada that have now gone to something radical, all paper ballots and counting in the same day. Jim, what is so controversial about what you're proposing and what the counties out there that the national media is doing thousands of word stories saying Jim Marchant is the devil himself?
Right. Well, we talked about this when I was on your show last time. The first domino fell out here, and I think it fell on the heads of the cabal and the news media mouthpiece, and they are in full meltdown. So they don't want mail-in. They don't want paper ballots. They don't want precinct level voting. They don't want the people to count the votes, because if we do, we have a fair and transparent election, and it negates everything that they've worked for since 2004, actually before that, but most recently when George Soros and Harry Reid, established this machine. So that's why they don't like it. And they are in full meltdown, and we are going to persevere. We're undeterred, and we're going to keep going. I've got 3 more counties that are going to be voting here in the next couple of weeks, and I'm not stopping there.
Jim, can you give the social media, because what people understand is Marchant's not just taking leadership in Nevada. He's now a national leader because he's coordinating all these other secretaries of state, and particularly on this paper ballots. Give us your what site do they go to follow you and to follow you on social media? Because there can't be a fight that's bigger than this, and our audience is all over it.
Right. Yeah, and we also need help with donations too, because the establishment, just like the former speaker you just had on there, they are blocking us also, as well as the Democrats. Of course, we're not going to get any money from Democrats, but the Rhino establishment Republicans are blocking us also. So we have to rely on the grassroots, the MAGA people all over the United States that could help us with $5 or $10 or $50 or $100. It makes a difference. So you can reach me at my website at jimmarchant.com, JIMMARCHANT.com, and then AmericaFirstSOS.com is the website for our coalition. We're up to like 10 or 12 candidates now. They're outstanding. MAGA, America First. Believe the things that we've been working on for a whole year now, which is paper ballots and making sure that we have a fair and transparent election.
Marchant, you're an American hero and a patriot. I got to tell you, nobody's doing a better job. You're killing it.
Thank you,
I know
Steve.
Because I read the Washington Post, and they tell me you're over the target, brother.
I
Jim
appreciate
Marchant
it.
in Nevada.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay, we'll see you back here at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Strap into the war room. I got to tell you, tomorrow is going to be just as hot as today, if not hotter. See you then.